Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about game modes in Marvel Future Fight, and I want to look at the new game mode world event, and I want to compare it to last year, what we got for the 3-year anniversary, the big turn of the year for Infinity War, which was the revamped World Boss Ultimate. Now, I don't mean to make this video, this video is going to come off as a bit of a rant and a bit of a complaint and full of negative pointers about the new game mode world event. I don't mean to do that because genuinely I do like world event. I think it's a great game mode. I think it's very well designed and it offers things to both new players and veterans. However, I do think that even though a game mode can be optimally designed, which I do think world event is optimally designed, I don't think it's got a major flaw in any way. It still exposes one of the weaknesses of a game mode like World Event, and it's even more exposed for what it could be lacking. You could argue that it's lacking compared to something like World Boss, and that ties into the core mechanics of Marvel Future Fight and the kind of the foundation of the game. So I want to start off by explaining how World Boss changed Marvel Future Fight, and I want to then use it as a jumping off point to compare it to World Event. Now, before I get into this comparison, before I do this, I want to acknowledge the fact that we can't have a revamped World Boss every year. It's just too much work to go through, and it puts the game into too much upheaval. It's not a good idea to be constantly changing all of the core game mechanics on your player base and constantly adding new things. If they were adding tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 every single year, the game probably would not be sustainable and people would give up because the bar is constantly being shifted, and then the buck is constantly being moved to another goalpost. That's not something we want. So it's actually good that they're not doing that again this year. Some people were hoping to see additional world bosses, but that wouldn't really change anything. That would just add more variety to the existing content. But a year ago, we got World Boss Ultimate, the new and improved version. Unlike the previous version, this one has not only scaling difficulty, but it also introduces new rewards that are key to unlocking additional potential for existing characters. And this existing potential is amplified by the fact that every update since then, we've gotten more characters who qualify for these items. And not only, the key thing here is that it's not only tier 3 materials that we're unlocking, it is also, generally speaking, the potential unlocking for characters to get to level 70, because in order to get to level 70, not only do you have to introduce, or not only do you have to feed the character biometrics, which is just like a generic item that's been in the game forever, but you have to spend Black Antimatter and Chaos Nornstones, so it re-emphasizes the value of these two existing materials, and it does drain people's reserves faster, which is a smart thing for Netmarble to do. You don't want people to stockpile tens of thousands or 50,000 like I had before Infinity War. And then of course, even if you don't have the tier 3 potential, you can always upgrade a character's gears to 25 using these new tier 3 materials. So with every update, you're not only looking at the 1 or 2 tier 3s that they introduce as targets for the tier 3 materials, but every single character that gets their level 70 a bonus and that potential now becomes a target for your resources that you can use. You could get every character to level 70 gear 25 and forego tier 3s in general. It's not necessarily a requirement to have tier 3s, but it gives you the opportunity to decide what you want to do with the resources, but it makes it extremely important and extremely crucial that you play this new game mode in order to get those new materials. And the game mode itself is fun. It's got variety, it's got difficulty. People will the different bosses will do different things, and so people have to adjust to that. So there's lots of excellent features of World Boss, but really the core mechanic that World Boss Ultimate revitalized was character building. Character building is the core of Marvel Future Fight, and as long as we have a game mode, as long as most game modes drive that purpose to make us and help us build our characters more, then that is a good game mode. Game modes that don't push us to build our characters or don't give us anything with which to build our characters are usually seen as bad game modes. So, while we do like Alliance Battle Extreme for how much it pushes us to use our characters to their maximum potential and perfect skill rotations and things like that. The rewards are so paltry, the rewards are so small and so bad and so pathetic that the majority of the player base forgoes doing it at a competitive level because there's really no incentive for character building. After you've built your characters, you can take them into ABX and you can run house and wreck face and show off, but you have to do all that backroom work outside of Alliance Battle Extreme. So that would be considered a game mode that's pretty poor and pretty bad at, helping you build up your characters. And generally these game modes are quick to tire, i.e. players will get, bored of them much more easily. And I think this is more the category of game mode that World Event falls into, because while it does offer a fun way to play with new characters, and I enjoy the game mode because I'm playing with characters like Ghost or Ghost Rider or, Hulk Ragnarok, characters that I would never play with. On the other hand, the rewards that it gives are, in one of two buckets. Now, on the one hand, this game mode caters very well to new players because it gives them a glimpse into what they could have. It's kind of like the genie's ball, and you get to see in the 20 years in the future what would things be like if I was an Ultra Whale in Marvel Future Fight and I had the #1 Thor, the #1 Vision, and the #1 Ultron. Well, and I had super premium cards. Let's find out. And you play World Event and you feel so powerful. That's an excellent feeling to give a new/intermediate player. For the veterans, for the endgame, there's the reward of having a very high hero badge, which immediately gives you, I don't know why I did that, which immediately gives you hundreds of points that you can dump into on the bonus to make you feel as though you've achieved something. However, that kind of wears off pretty quickly. Although you're given 100 and in some cases 150 points right off the bat for being a veteran, you really can't pump them into any of the more meaningful veteran stats. Now, all veterans need gold, but the character XP acquisition is basically never going to be touched. The item acquisition chance, it feels a little bit underutilized because it's not going to apply to the game modes where you really need most items from, like World Boss for those tier 3 materials. And then you want to put your stats into these items, or you want to put your bonuses, your points into these stats, but you can't because the return is so pathetic. 100 points is going to give you 1%, I believe. It's basically nothing. But if it was giving you much higher percentages, like if this was 1% per 1 point, that would be completely broken because I would have a plus 100% all attack, and that would completely skew things in favor of veterans. So they had to do it this way. There was no other way to do it. That's why I said this mode is not flawed. It was designed very well, and it was designed in a very balanced way, but it basically shuns all of the kind of the higher tier intermediate players and all of the veterans who are not big spenders. If you are a big time spender, what you can do is you can push your agent level to its maximum by sacrificing primarily mythic comic cards through the agent badge system. And doing this will give you an exponential increase in your agent level, which you can combine with your tokens that you get from just participating normally. And that is the way that you scale up your agent level. And then that just becomes a spending competition between the highest spending players. And you can see the rankings right here, pushing into the 160s of their agent level in order for them to achieve those additional few percentage points of HP. And then for those, in the top 10 and top 5 and top 1, you get a little bit more. You get 20, 15, and 10, which is a sizable increase over everyone else, but it's really not going to make the game much different. There are very few competitive game modes in Marvel Future Fight, so while some free-to-plays or some ignorant players might be complaining, oh my god, this is so OP, he's got these crazy stats, you'll literally never interact with this player ever, so you'll never even feel the advantage that they have over you. That advantage 99% of the time is just going to make the existing PvE content like World Boss, Shadowland, ABX, etc. a little bit easier and make their scores a little bit higher and put their clear speeds at a shorter number to make it a little bit faster. But there's really no player versus player. This is just kind of for the glory. This is kind of just flexing your wallet. And those are basically the two types of players that benefit the most from World Event. Players with unlimited wallet funds and new players. Everyone else in the middle kind of gets shafted. And I say gets shafted because unlike World Boss Ultimate, World Event doesn't give you anything to build your characters with. Now, you could argue that yes, the agent level does build your character, Cynicalex, because the bonus applies to all of your characters. So if you wanted to, you could pump your 100 points into max HP and get 2% more max HP, which is not a lot, but it's enough. And if you really care about PvP, Alliance Conquest, etc., you will have a 2% advantage, and that advantage will get bigger over time. And I mean, that's great. That's all well and good. But it's such a hollow feeling, and it's hidden behind this page. And if you back out of this page, you're never going to see it again. And when you go to your character screen, you don't really notice that 2% HP. I mean, yeah, your HP number is a little bit higher, but it doesn't really feel higher. So even though Giant Boss Raid is technically a more flawed game mode because it came out and it had very, very poor rewards, and even now people get disconnected. You know, there's still tweaks that the game mode needs to have done to it for Giant Boss Raid to be better. And it still needs to give out more rewards because the rewards are still quite stingy, but actually they need to change the way the type enhancement works. It still feels better when you play Giant Boss Raid and you feel like you're progressing. And that's really the point there. You feel like you're progressing because you're given a tangible item that you can put towards your character upgrades that will give you a visible stat change that you can then reflect on, and you can say, oh man, well, I failed that time, but oh, there we go, that's what I was working towards. I got that extra 5% damage to speed types. It's going to be a little bit easier to kill speed villains in timeline battle and Alliance Conquest, and then if I ever want to fight the Quicksilver World boss, I'll beat him even faster. So there's that tangible feeling, and you can see on your character screen how you are improving, even if it's just by a small amount. So this is where I think Netmarble does need to focus their attention for the next game mode that either gets introduced or the next existing game mode that gets reworked and rebalanced. Now, I would personally like to see existing game modes, especially in the Arena tab, get reworked. Basically, all 5 of these are terrible. These are among the 5 worst game modes in Marvel Future Fight, with the lowest rewards overall and the highest amount of time and money and character development investment. You need tier 3s for timeline battle, you need tier 3s for ABX and AB, you need tier 3s for Alliance Tournament. I mean, 3 out of 5 game modes require, it's not an option, you are required if you want to compete on any level, unless you want to be in the fucking Iron League or the Stone, I don't even know what the league is called, Bronze, whatever it's called, Wood. You know, unless you want to be at the very bottom, you will need tier 3s. No other game mode really requires tier 3s. You can farm stage 20 of World Boss Ultimate, and you can get those tier 3 materials and chance to get CTPs and premium cards using tier 2 characters at level 70. But really, exclusively, you must be using tier 3s in most of these game modes. And yet, they're the ones with the worst rewards, and they're the ones that give you basically no character advancement whatsoever. There's a count advancement with like crystals and a little bit of gold and shit like that, but it's really tremendously skewed. So I do want to point that out because I do have this feeling, and I think a lot of other players have this feeling, so I wanted to express it, that while World Event is great, and I feel really bad complaining about World Event because I think it's a great polished game mode, and I love the fact that Netmarble gave us basically like a wave mode that lets us use different characters, but they're still powerful, so we don't feel like we need to spend tons of money scrambling. You know, shit, I have an hour to build up Ghost Rider. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I gotta slap on a CTP. You make mistakes, you regret it. There's none of that kind of stress. It's a fun game mode. It's an arcade mode. You can just jump in, play, try to beat your score. There's no cost. It's a really, really great game mode. Don't get me wrong. But I do think that now the game mode more like World Boss Ultimate, that's giving us materials that we're going to be using, that we need to use, and that we need to build up our characters, that needs to be the focus for the next update. That needs to be the focus for the next game mode that gets buffed or that gets introduced, and that needs to happen within the next 1 to 2 updates. Otherwise, I do see the veterans once again getting bored and feeling as though the game is more of a chore than actually something really, really fun that they want to do, because there isn't as much to look forward to the closer you get to the end in terms of building up characters and having your rosters sort of semi-complete. So that's kind of the rant that I wanted to drop on you guys today about World Event. Frankly, I would love to see Alliance Conquest get reworked with manual play and no autoplay, because I think that game mode has the most potential, and I've covered it in a separate video called, you know, What If Alliance War. I think they should rebrand Alliance Conquest as an Alliance War, make it a one-on-one, manual play only, and give us those tier 2, those tier 3 materials, give us, you know, type enhancement kits, mythic comic cards. It doesn't even matter if you're giving us tons of these items, but at least a bit, a slow drip of these items so that we feel as though we want to invest in this game mode so that we can get something out of it to then further build our roster to get stronger and stronger. And it's kind of that attitude. It's like people who go to the gym. You go to the gym to get stronger, and as you get stronger, you want to keep going back to get even stronger. But I don't really feel that way with some of these other game modes. It's more of just like a one and done, and I just go in and I do it and I'm done and I'm out, and I don't want to think about it again until it pops up again. And it doesn't really inspire the same amount of passion as something like World Boss Ultimate. To this day, I'm still super excited every time I jump into World Boss Ultimate a year later because of the chances of getting good items and the fact that I know that I'm building up my characters. I know that I'm building up my raid level. And you know what happens when I get to raid level 500. We're gonna have to talk about that in a later video, but it's coming sooner than you think. So they're gonna have to. Netmarble's gonna have to address this as well. So let me know what you guys think of my assessment for the differences between the two game modes in Infinity War and Endgame. Let me know what you think of World Event. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. Don't forget to vote for Gamora, Red Skull, etc. in the character poll. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.